from the... I was in there today. Did you speak with Mr. McEnroe?
Yes, I did.
And what was discussed?
It's a private conversation.
Was it obviously about the default loss?
Oh, lots of things.
Has he indicated any intention on his behalf about returning next year?
No, it's early days.
Come on, guys, let's get in.
Any regrets?
Which one is it?
LAX. Sydney LAX.
Have you had any comment at all? Are you feeling bitter about what happened?
Are you going to come back, Sean? Come back, Sean? Next year.
We got that.
What's the plan? Sleep in the plane?
I slept in the first part.
On the chair's right, from the United States, John McEnroe.
What kind of mentality are you thinking if you think she's going to give me calls after I do that?
Ouch.
But we took it too far this time.
It was the Wild West. It was completely out of control.
It gives me very great pleasure to declare the National Tennis Centre officially open.
I've never admitted this publicly, what I really felt about that.
I've never really discussed the incident with anybody.
Several four-letter words.
If I was in the umpire's chair, I would be dead. Default, Mr. McEnroe.
Whoa!
Two match points. And it may be the last time John McEnroe will play in an Australian Open. Well, it is a great moment for Wayne Ferreira, but it's one that he is sharing with John McEnroe. Because this applause, this standing ovation, is very much for this man. That leaves us, will it be for the last time?
Sorry. My relationship with the Australian Open, I think, is pretty good. Initially, I felt like I got to come down here and win this. I thought I was going to. I ended up only playing 5 times. 0 for 5. That was extremely disappointing because that was the plan. Win it and I'm out of here. I screwed myself, I'll admit it, because things that happened on the court people didn't understand or didn't agree with. And so because of that ended up hurting myself.
John wasn't as volatile when he was a kid. He was very competitive, obviously, and very driven. He didn't really have the sort of antics on the court. John prided himself on understanding, what he could get away with and then how not to go over the line.
Kind of what you saw in the pros is exactly how he played in the juniors, and it was like all eyes on him. We both grew up in the northeast part of the U.S. He grew up a little north of me in New York City. We played some of the same junior tournaments. He was pretty much a legend in the juniors. He had the breakthrough in '77 at Wimbledon by getting through to the semis out of qualifying.
A real Wimbledon occasion and a marvellous win for this young fellow of 18.
It's not every 18-year-old who makes the semi-final at Wimbledon on their first attempt.
As far as his ability to embrace the big moments and not back down, that's what you want to be as a tennis player.
This is the first major title, and I hope I can win one more in the future.
The champion has defended his title. For the third year in a row, McEnroe the victor, the champion.
John has always been someone from the very beginning of his professional career that could break through sports coverage to the general population.
He has a point of difference that only a few have been able to have.
John was the most famous sports person in the world, right?
It was box office. The fans loved it. I mean, they loved it.
You are number one.
I don't think anybody can dispute that.
His tennis was just phenomenal to watch. He was one of the reasons that I picked up a racket.
There are so many elements of his technique where you say, well, that shouldn't work.
The way he hit his volleys, you'd never teach it, and yet he had some of the greatest volleys in the history of the sport.
He was a lefty. Everything kind of was upright, and he was playing the ball very flat. It was just exciting to watch.
He had the agility where he didn't sort of look like the fastest, he didn't look like the fittest or the most agile, but he was always in the right place.
I've never seen another player hold their racket the way he does and be able to create. It's like a painter with a brush. That's what McEnroe's like as a tennis player. Then the other part of his brand is his temperament.
That was a good call. Excuse me? That was a bit of a Look, you can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious! That ball was on the line. Chalk flew up. It was clearly in. How can you possibly call that out?
His attitude and his behaviour was another element that he was always going to be remembered for.
What do you want, Mr. whatever your name is? Mr. Incompetent?
They didn't like players speaking out. They didn't like McEnroe speaking out.
What does it take for you to get a call right? There's the mark right on the line.
Because he was such a superstar, he'd get away with this stuff.
Mr. McEnroe? Mr. McEnroe?
It was like a magnet. You wanted to see what he did.
John didn't trust the officials.
1530. Code violation.
There was an element of, oh no, you guys think you're too big for your boots. And I think a lot of the players felt that.
Code violation, multiple obscenity, point penalty, USA.
There was some very poor officiating going on. And I didn't handle it particularly well.
You said that ball hit the line and not one thing of chalk came up at all.
Well, it's not always going to have chalk coming up.
We're the stars. Calm down, call the score, and shut the fuck up.
Well, this looks a bit professional. Tell me what we're doing here and why we're doing this and what you're going to do. So I'm Peter Ballinger, and I was the tournament referee at the Australian Open from 1983 to 2005.
Peter Bellinger was the referee, so he was sort of all coordinating all the matches and courts and stuff like that. He's a quite reasonable, calm guy, but there was quite a resentment to the umpires and the officials.
John McEnroe, I know he had a reputation when he came down and he was #1 in the world.
Just reported something to me.
I never really liked his attitude to the game.
Let's play.
Let's play.
I'd like to play, okay? As soon as you overrule that call, it's a mistake, then I'll be happy to play.
His antics on court, I never really ever approved of.
Shut up.
I was always worried the impact that his behaviour would have on players coming up.
Oh, I mean, I'm hassled every match by people in the crowd. I mean, it's, sometimes I get more angry than I do others. But I mean, it's every match I've ever played that happens.
Centre Court, Kooyong, Melbourne, Australia.
The Australian Open, we're trying to find the right position on the tour. The Kooyong was like a small, big tournament.
The Australian Open was on its way to parity with the other majors, but it wasn't quite there.
Trophies that go to the victors.
It needed attention, it needed stars.
There's been a lot of publicity about numbers of players that have not been able to make a visit to Australia.
There weren't the really big names. There weren't Connors, McEnroe, Borg.
You know, it must have been hard to decide whether they wanted to come to the tennis or the cricket.
Prize money's not as good, and you know, it's not as big a tournament.
Oops, look out.
You know, week after the Australian Open, there's an exhibition for twice as much money.
This tournament is not run very professionally.
I think we had this attitude of, hey, we're at Grand Slam, you guys have got to come.
The grassy for cows.
Play will be suspended for a short while until this blows over.
It started losing its lustre a little bit.
Under these conditions, it is quite impossible for the players to give it their best.
Something had to give.
When I first came into the sport, Bjorn Borg and Jimmy Connors didn't even play here. And so I was like, why the hell should I bother playing here? When I became number one, people, well, they listened to me a little bit more. The Australian Open organizers offered me a guarantee. I said, well, if you change the date, I'll consider coming. And they did that. So in 1983 was my first time I ventured down here. Playing at Kooyong on the grass, a lot of flies, a lot of heat. It was tough.
McEnroe bothered by an insect.
You felt like it, you could come out here and notch up an Australian Open title pretty simply. It's not that easy.
I felt like I got to come down here and win this. I thought I was going to, and then practice before the semifinals the day before, and I thought, God, I'm so lucky I don't have any physical issues. But the next day when I played mats in the semis, I woke up like, oh, my knee is killing me. What's happening?
Okay, court being readied for this semi-final. They've played 3 times before. It's 2-1 to Wilander.
Mats actually played some great tennis down under at this event.
Wilander was not missing a damn ball. It was a classic serve volley against the baseliner.
No way!
Forehand cross-court from the Swede is exquisite.
We love those contrasts, and it was really exciting time.
Oh, what a magnificent pass. That gives Wilander 2 match points.
I don't know if it was the pressure because I expected to win it. I had obviously had some good success at Wimbledon.
No, doesn't matter. Wilander into the final of the Marlborough Australian Open, defeating John McEnroe in 4 sets before a packed house at Kooyong.
That was extremely disappointing.
Congratulations.
In '85, my ex-wife was pregnant. She was down with me, and let's just say I didn't handle the situation that well, off the court.
The media and the press was wild. It was the Wild West.
I'm gonna go take a shit now. You want to take a picture of that?
Oh, no. They could go anywhere, anytime. They ruled the world. It was completely out of control.
The talk wasn't really about the tennis. It was more about my relationship with Tatum.
We did see a lot of personal moments opening up and talking. We liked to play a bit of guitar and let our hair down from time to time. He had his moments of frustration with his partner in relationships that were volatile, I suppose. At the time, we were young men trying to make a living, and you've got to be self-centered. You've got to put yourself first. It's tough on a partner. But the family, I think, was the number one thing for us.
From the beginning, the time I landed in Melbourne until the time I left, I wasn't sure how much I wanted to be here, and it ended up affecting my play quite a bit.
The problem we had with John McEnroe that year was that we had bad rain on the first 4 days of the tournament, and I don't think we hardly hit a ball until the Friday. So the courts were all very waterlogged.
If you want a Grand Slam and a Grand Slam quality, you have to make it that way. You can't have the people playing on this.
Please welcome Jannik Sinner and John McEnroe.
Not only is the court hard and not only is it slippery, but also you go uphill to get to net.
McEnroe's down. Deuce.
He was not happy with the court surface and he was slipping a little bit on it. He called me onto court.
You can see the referee by all means, certainly.
John McEnroe asking for the referee, Peter Bellinger.
He wanted the match to be shifted to an outside court.
Here he comes now, Peter Bellinger, so he's going to have a word about the state of the court.
I knew there was problems with the court. Not that I admitted that to John McEnroe. And that's when he made the comment.
This is where it's all right. You got hair on the top of your head.
He said, if this court's all right, you'd have hair on the top of your head.
I lived with that for the rest of my 22 years at the Australian Open, I think.
Game 7, match McEnroe.
There's plenty of drama to come, I think, for John McEnroe in this tournament.
I ended up struggling even to get to the quarterfinals and losing to a guy that, you know, I felt like I should definitely not lose to.
40 love.
Well, McEnroe thinking that was a fault.
That's where the ball is good. Let's play.
Ooh. Oh, holy smoke.
15 love. 30-15.
Suddenly you've got X-ray eyes that comes in form 1 inch down on that baseline, right? Huh?
Seeing him as I see them, that's all I can say. Correction, the ball was good. Play a let, please. Because a fault ball was made and he did get it.
After he missed the ball and it was in the net, he called it out.
If it was a clean winner, I would have paid.
No, it was, he hit this ball, he missed it, and then he called it 3 seconds after he missed it. What do you do? Get off the court.
Here comes Bobo, refreshed. Goodbye, John McEnroe. Slobodan Zivijanovic from Yugoslavia has defeated the number 2 seed John McEnroe in 5 sets in this quarterfinal match.
A few months later, I decided that I needed to sort of regroup mentally, and ironically, that was the year that they didn't have the tournament.
Cheers for McEnroe as he leaves the court.
John, is it the worst grass court you've played on?
Without a doubt. It's not good enough to play tennis on. I guess that's one reason they're not having it here anymore.
Undeniably one of the loneliest places in the country today, the home of the Australian Open for the past 16 years, Kooyong has bowed out gracefully to almost $100 million and 23 months of fevered activity in Flinders Park.
It's an ideal position, really. It's very close to the city, near the MCG, Olympic Park. So it makes all those sporting areas come together, and I think gives Melbourne the best sporting complex anywhere in the world.
They were like, look, we're coming up with a new location. We're going to change surfaces. We're going to build this whole new thing. From that point forward, you could tell that there was a real effort made to really improve the venue.
Victorian Premier John Cain was a proud man to have the honour of baptising what he happily described as his baby.
It gives me very great pleasure to declare the National Tennis Centre officially open.
When we first came to Flinders Park, the first year, the courts were pretty quick. We're like, great, I've got a chance to win the Australian Open. I'm going to win it. Unfortunately, the Nassau balls were absolutely horrendous. And I remember opening the ball and bouncing it the first day. And I went, oh, there's something wrong with the ball. We opened like 3 cans. I went, don't tell me all the balls are like this. And we started freaking out. Literally, you could half squeeze the ball in, which meant the ball wouldn't bounce. It would just sit there. Wouldn't go fast through the court. Don't think it's too far of a stretch of imagination to say that it cost me the Australian Open title. So that was another element of friction between the officials and the players.
After 4 hours and 28 minutes, Sabalenka has emerged victorious.
I didn't play again until 89. By that time, I had a couple kids. It was like a juggling act, trying to figure out how to do that. I sort of tried to get here as late as I could in a way. Ivan Lendl, who was my other great rival, was coming a month before.
Ivan Lendl was, he is one heck of an athlete, heck of a player, and hit the ball harder than anybody we'd really seen until that time.
Oh, that was too good.
Ivan was also really, really cocky and confident. He was one of the guys that you really wanted to beat. He also was the loudest player in the locker room.
Just finish it, moron!
He would tell you, I'm playing you tomorrow, I'm going to crush you. What's the score going to be? 1, 2, and 1? Maybe I'll give you 3 games, 4 games.
You big lad.
I thought he was joking. He's talking to his coach or something. No, he's actually talking to this guy. I'm going to crush you tomorrow. You tell dirty jokes, you tell inappropriate jokes.
My sense of humor is so much offbeat that I can't use all my dirty jokes.
About other players, other nationalities.
Have you got one? Oh, I have many.
This guy's just weird. It was off-putting, and I think it rubbed John up the wrong way. The more I spoke to Mac, the more I hated Ivan.
Wearing that dumb hat he wore, it psyched me out.
And Ivan Lendl has won the US Open of 1985.
He was the Ivan Drago. Mac, I think, was Rocky.
Lendl, he's been out here for 3 weeks preparing. He looks very, very fit to me.
He's one of the first really true professional players. Did stuff with the rackets and the balances and grips that the players have now taken on, and everybody does that. And Ivan Lendl was the first one to do that. And then you've got McEnroe with his stringing. There's no way I could hit the ball on the court. It was like grandma's racket that'd been sitting in the back there and the strings, and he with his little hit like this, and the thing would fly off. You go, whoa. He did a lot of things very differently, and they were really awkward to deal with.
Well, the touch of McEnroe.
But Lendl had the edge over McEnroe because he just overpowered him.
You said no love lost between Lendl and McEnroe.
Ivan obviously is a great player anyway, but he was also renowned for his fitness, so the heat in him.
Now a lob winner.
I'm like, that's too good.
Match points to Ivan Lendl. One of the crowd favourites. Looks as though he may bow out in the quarters. That'll do it. Fittingly on another winner.
6-2, 7-6.
Big, warm round of applause for John McEnroe and particularly Ivan Lendl as they leave the court.
And so that was 89. 90 was even worse.
You rolling, Ben? Yep.
How's my jacket and shirt? Am I okay or scruffy? I'll just tell a little story around
I want
it.
you to riff on it.
No. Yeah. I've never admitted this publicly, what I really felt about that. So I'm going to talk to you, not to camera.
You're talking to me.
Okay, cool.
Are we ready to go?
He's rolling, all set.
John, when he used to practice, he was so good, this guy. He was so talented. He'd be rallying in practice and having a conversation with someone in the crowd. He did that all the time. I just sat on the side and John saw me, hey, Mac, how you going? Oh, John, I'm just wondering if you want to play Hopman Cup this year. Yeah, sounds like a good idea. Yeah, I'm coming. Don't worry about it. I'm coming, all right? That was it. So he came.
They began rolling up at the Burswood Ballroom at about 7 for the ball to end all balls, a chance to rub shoulders with the tennis who's who. And at $150 a ticket, it sure was going to give the old bank card a nudge. But money was no problem at the Hopman Cup ball. And when the auction came around, the big bidders pulled out their wallets.
We have a lot of auction items that go to charity, and it was Stevie Wonder's jacket that they were bidding for. And every time John made a bid, Michael Pernfors would up the bid. And now it's a match, it's a competition between John McEnroe and Michael Pernfors. And of course, John, being so competitive, just didn't want to lose. And Pernfors knew that, so he just kept bidding it. So he kept having to bid again and bid again and bid again.
$8,000. $85,000. Match price league sold.
And it's later that night, I get a phone call from security and they said, look, there's an altercation in John McEnroe's hotel room at Burswood, you know. He's just screaming, I don't even like Stevie Wonder. I don't know, why didn't you stop me from buying that jacket? A few days later, John and Tatum came to our wedding, which was really nice. We got married, you know, so it was all good.
What a superb field we have in the second annual Hopman Cup. We have one man and one woman on each team. They play men's singles, mixed doubles, and ladies singles.
When I got the call from the USTA about whether or not I could play Hopman Cup, I was really excited because the event had been around not that long. And then when I found out who my partner was, it was going to be John McEnroe. We grew up in the juniors together, so I was like, let's go.
John McEnroe hasn't played mixed doubles for 11 years.
We only played the one time together, which was there, so we only played 3 or 4 matches. By 1990, I was in my 13th year, and I was not at the best part of my career. I could still play pretty good doubles, but I knew for us to win the Hopman Cup, I knew it was kind of going to be on John. I knew that he'd have to win his singles.
Right? Yep. Well, Peter, this is different from any other tournament in terms of its concept. Is it different from a tournament referee's point of view?
David, no, it's not any different from a tournament referee's point of view. My duties are very much the same, and that is to control what happens out here on the centre court, and make sure that the officiating's up to scratch and the players behave themselves. And I mean, that's basically it.
At the Hopman Cup, McEnroe, even though it was more an exhibition than a tournament, he still was up to his antics.
How could you possibly be clear and sure enough to overrule that? There was a clear gap right on the line. There's no possible way you can overrule that.
John was playing a dead match because USA was up 2-0 against Paulo Cain. John's not really into it, and Paulo Cain, this is the match of his life.
You gotta be kidding me. That's worse shit.
Game is legal. Code violation, abuse of Racket, warning Mr. McEnroe.
John got quite upset about some of the calls.
God damn it, the line is in, isn't it? The line in this court? What's that? That ball is right on the line.
Love 15.
Fucking choke up there.
15 love.
Was given a warning.
Code violation, unsportsmanlike conduct, point Mr. McEnroe.
And then refused to play.
I'm out here playing this meaningless match and you're calling this crap? You missed 7 calls. You get it 1? Here, tell them what to do, huh? Let's take a game penalty. I don't
Chair umpire at the time was Jane Tabor, one of the world's #1 women umpires at the time. She took him through the next 2 steps of the code for not playing.
You get a time violation, will you, in a minute? Well, the next one will be a game penalty, won't it? He's had a code violation, a warning, a point.
Code violation, delay of game, Mr. McEnroe.
So Peter Ballinger came to me and said, look, I really should default him. He said, however, because this tournament started on December 31, I can technically say we're losing last year's rules. So he's got an extra chance. he's got an extra violation. I said, absolutely last year's rules, absolutely.
So McEnroe now coming back out onto the court.
You know, it's not 3 strikes and you're out, he's got another one. And of course, John does another one, but doesn't get defaulted.
Game, Sinner match, USA. 2-6 to 1, 6-4, 4-6, 6-4.
So fast forward to the Australian Open.
Souvenir program, $6. 200 pages, articles on all the stars, only $6.
90 had a really good looking draw and like a good chance. I was actually playing quite well. It didn't quite work out as planned.
He's been in great touch, McEnroe, in the matches we've seen him play so far. I think he might have a tougher fight on his hands here against Michael Pernfors.
Oh, I think so, Gary. This is his first real test.
I don't remember a whole lot of walking on the court, but I do remember it was very hot.
You're always a little bit on edge when John plays, and you're always expecting that something's going to happen. John went on, they had their warm-up, and I didn't stay on court. But I went back to my office, as I usually did.
Jerry Armstrong, and I got a click. How's that? Thank you. I was one of the first band of professional umpires which were hired. All the tough matches were thrown in our direction.
Jerry was one of the world's leading umpires at that stage.
I'd been umpiring John as a professional for 3 or 4 years, so we weren't strangers to each other. You never looked forward to doing John's matches, but on the other hand, you knew it was going to be a challenging afternoon.
It all started, of course, with the balls. That was where it got sort of John's attention. He said they were all dead.
They're just questioning the balls here, Gary.
This is the first time we've seen anybody question the balls in this tournament.
John was probably right. When you actually look at that ball bouncing, it looked as though it was pretty dead.
The balls that we were using at the Australian Open at the time was a brand called NASA from Korea. I think you can still buy them at the $2 op shop. They were horrific.
McEnroe to serve.
So, the start of what I think will be a difficult encounter for John McEnroe.
One thing that is crystal clear is John's intelligence. John's understanding of where the line is was always excellent.
I don't know what he's looking at there. That was many centimetres out.
He always knew how to push it as far as he needed to get what he wanted without getting crossed out.
Is that what's coming through? Is it the wind on the mic that's bothering? Okay, I'll keep it turned off. Just turn it off.
Well, there's no wind to speak of. It must have been just Jerry Armstrong breathing.
Great players. They are the conductor of the match.
Such a skillful shot, that.
I'm going to be the guy that's talking to the umpire. You just wait down there and I'll tell you when I'm ready to play.
Giving the linesman there the evil eye.
Don't know what the problem is now.
That's that guy there to stop moving the stand every point. Sort of just...
Will the gentleman at the end please refrain from waving the hat? He's distracting the players. Thank you.
It can't have been easy to be on centre court with John McEnroe throwing his toys out of the pram.
John's orchestrating all the mayhem that he always does.
No comment from Jerry Armstrong.
It was just bubbling, and it was pure theatre. It was pure John. It was everything that we come to love about Mac.
Ball abuse warning? Got to be.
Well, got to be one of these type.
Advantage Pernfors.
Let's get some balls that bounce. Man, hard balls first.
I know.
Well, it's totally different.
I'll try one more can. Try those, they're not that much better.
He was trying to change rhythm of the match. He was in a tough battle and it wasn't bothering Pernfors at all.
He's got it. Michael Pernfors has the second set. It's 1 set all.
It was extremely difficult to play the way I wanted to play, and Mikhail's a sort of an awkward player to play.
Oh, you hit it. He was flat on his face, but he's got the winner.
John was the master of creating some kind of an illusion that kind of took away his opponent's attention from what they were doing, got them distracted, and he was able to pick your pocket and take the win with it.
The first warning, there was a lady on the baseline.
My name's Di Larkin and I was on the right baseline. And I see he's coming into the court to do a volley and I call it out.
30-40.
I can just see John McEnroe.
Could have gone either way.
He's just hands on hips and staring at me.
Such a close ball, it could have gone either way.
So that game goes and he loses his serve.
Game Pernfors.
And then McEnroe's going to come to my end. So he's coming down towards me.
Seats quickly, please. Time.
He walks past me. I breathe a sigh of relief.
Seats behind, please.
But then the ball kids bounce the ball to him and for some reason he walks across to me.
I felt like I was getting some bad calls, so I decided to go over and sort of give him a stare down. You know, I figured that way I couldn't get any type of warning or anything. If I didn't say anything, how could anything happen?
McEnroe just hobbles over that large lady.
I'm not sure if he's trying to be funny, if he's trying to be serious, because he doesn't say anything. He just stood in front of me. What do? I lowered my eyes just to look straight ahead. All I could see was his shorts. There he is with his fly half down. Then I hear Jerry Armstrong say code violation.
Code violation, unsportsmanlike conduct, warning Mr. McEnroe.
He did it a lot with lines people, tried to make them give close decisions in his favour, I guess. That's the reason for it.
That's blatant intimidation of an official. Sorry, I'm not going to have that. That's blatant intimidation. Yeah, that's not a question I can answer. It's the end of the conversation. Let's play.
Jerry, credit to him. I don't know if everybody would have been able to hand out that code violation at that particular stage.
You think she's going to intimidate to give me calls after doing that to her, right? What kind of mentality are you thinking if you think she's going to give me calls after I do that?
Once the warning was given, I came back onto court and I stayed there for the rest of the match because you knew that things might turn nasty.
Advantage Pernfors.
Anything on the line now, is that on my side too? What are you going to make it over for, Jerry?
Do you expect me to overrule something on that far sideline?
Call now. I'm getting sick and tired of you warning me for something I don't deserve and missing calls on top of it. I'm really getting sick and tired of your decision-making process. God, the ball is right on the line, pal.
That was the first year there was what we call a three-step code. So it was warning, point, default. There was no game then, which the previous 5, 6, 7 years there was. I'm not sure John knew the rules had changed.
What's the problem, John? I get screwed by you. What's wrong is that was a totally unfair decision. Not to mention the fact that this falls. And everyone turns because of your decisions. Every time I get screwed by you.
Do you think that's unreasonable?
It didn't matter who was down the other end. It didn't matter that it was Pernfors. It could have been any other opposition just competing hard and holding him from his victory. That's the thing, is that he just has this incredible will to win.
7-5, the third to McEnroe. He leads by 2 sets to 1.
I was, in a winning position, but letting down a little bit early in the fourth.
Time violation, warning, Mr. McEnroe.
McEnroe was getting a little bit frustrated. He was down a break in the fourth set, being 2 sets to 1 up. He'd had a few words to say about a lady in the stand with a baby.
If you have an opportunity to go outside, could you do so, please? Thank you.
The lady's face has gone several shades of red.
Thank you.
And at that stage, he bounced his racket and it cracked.
Now, in those days, a cracked racket was an automatic code violation.
Code violation, racket abuse, point penalty, Mr. McEnroe.
Missed a ball in a moment of frustration, hit my racket on the ground. You could hear a crack.
Game code false.
An umpire can call you for a penalty. Most of the time they don't if you keep playing with the same racket.
John Alexander at courtside.
You should be here. This is being in the lion's den. The crowd wants blood, so does John McEnroe.
It wasn't anything personal. I just had to give a point penalty. John contested. He wanted to speak to the referee and the supervisor.
He asked for myself and Ken. Ken Farrar was the chief of supervisors, and we approached the chair from different sides of the court.
Here comes Ken Farrar.
You get Ken Farrar on the court with Mac. There's a good chance there's going to be some fireworks.
The question is whether or not whether I'm going to continue playing with it. If I can't play with the racket, right? If there's a little crack, does that mean there's abuse? There's a slight crack. What's the definition of a break? Unable to continue playing with it?
Oh, break it. Broken.
It's not broken. Broken is when you can't play with it. You want to look at it?
Broken.
It's not broken. I have every intention of playing with the point with it. How can you call that in that situation?
I heard crack, so I think the racket was play. Let's play.
Let's play.
He wandered back to the service line to serve. Ken Farrar, he heard McEnroe say what he said.
For what he said then, you could have gone straight into an automatic default.
Ken called me back onto the court and he told me what McEnroe had said. I stepped on the bottom step of the umpire's chair and said to Jerry, you have to default him. And that's what Jerry did.
Code violation, verbal abuse, default, Mr. McEnroe.
Whoa!
Game, set, match, point false.
The general feeling was one of shock because he just seemed to be someone who was bulletproof.
It was the first time in men's singles in a Grand Slam anybody had been defaulted.
So John McEnroe has left the centre court.
Taylor McEnroe quickly off to console John.
I'm looking around the court and I'm thinking, how am I going to get out of here?
I'm going to walk out if you don't stop those people.
I wasn't playing the tournament. I was out injured. We're having a barbecue. I was quite happy. I was hanging out with friends. I was all loved up.
Did you feel you had the support of your peers? Well, to be honest, I didn't really give a shit.
Flicker a TV on. I'm like, oh. gee, he's not going to be happy.
I don't think that when you look back on this, you're going to think that this was good for the game.
I reached out and said, hey, mate, here's my address. He's like, I'm on the way.
Okay, thank you very much.
While he was in the press conference, we were busy trying to get another match onto court. When we brought them onto court, the audience didn't want to let the match start. They still wanted McEnroe.
I hear the door ring. I answered the door. First thing he said was, I didn't know the rules had changed. I said, mate, go get yourself a beer.
Did he acknowledge you at all?
Once we got the girls' match started, that's when Ken and I went in and did our press conference.
What exactly did he say?
I think that's something that maybe John would want to tell you if he wants to.
Next thing you know, as this quite young reporter, I heard John McEnroe was here. I was like, mate, you're at the wrong place, and John McEnroe is not here.
No player can be allowed to get away with what transpired today. It just can't do it.
You can hear him in the background. Hey, guys, yeah, what's going on? He's having a beer. Shut up, John. No, I just got angry and then blurted out something inappropriate.
McEnroe was fired up.
It's probably been a long time coming.
They did the right thing.
If you don't want to play by the rules, well, I guess you got to go and play somewhere else.
The death threat against Jerry Armstrong.
We had to give Jerry a police escort for the next 24 hours.
Yeah, the powers that be took that death threat quite seriously. If I was in the umpire's chair, I would be dead.
McEnroe slipped out the tradesman's entrance for the airport.
Did you speak with Mr. McEnroe?
Yes, I did.
And what was discussed? It's a private conversation.
John, you have any comment? Will be feeling better about what happened?
Tell us when you're going to come back, John.
So, there you have it.
This feeling for you is hurting me. I don't know why.
Can you please take your seats as quickly as possible? Okay, questions, please?
Okay, so we understand that the 3 steps involved warning, penalty point, and default, and the 4 step with the warning, penalty point, game, and default. I agree with the change if that's correct.
The 4-step code of conduct was changed to a 3-step code of conduct at the beginning of the year, both by the ATP Tour and by the ITF. And we both adopted the same code, warning, point, default.
My damn agent didn't tell me they changed the rules. I wasn't aware that the third one was you're out of here. And so that was too bad.
I knew he wouldn't know the rule because at Hopman Cup he played under the old rules, and I knew he would have assumed from Hopman Cup that he had 3 lives. He didn't. He got defaulted. I'm still guilty about that to this day, and so I do feel it was my fault.
When something like this happens, we're there to enforce the rules. And this was a blatant verbal abuse. There was no question. And as a matter of fact, it's in the Grand Slam rule books, would have been made available to the players, and it's also in the ATP Tour book.
What's that? You think it was a right decision to default, and if you
I don't know what he said.
Well, you didn't hear him, right?
I don't know what he said. Does that mean I heard him?
McEnroe never ever won an Australian Open. And that year, he probably could have.
We must congratulate Ivan Lendl winning his 8th Grand Slam title.
The default stopped him from doing that.
Ken Farrar ultimately made the decision, and it was a big thing in his career. He was the guy that defaulted John McEnroe.
I think John might have thought that Ken might have had a bit of a vendetta. I have a lot of confidence in Ken's ability to make the right decisions and to, so, I don't have much more to say about it than that, really.
When I was tournament director some years later, the ITF came to me and said they want to have a presentation to Ken Farrar on centre court because of his service to the game. I said, you know what? I'm going to pass on that one. He can have his honour somewhere else, but not here on this court.
It was pretty obvious John and I shouldn't be in the same space on a tennis court. So we decided that we'll give it a fair bit of time to calm down and I'll stay away from him. About 18 months later at Wimbledon, John was still playing in doubles. And I was assigned the doubles final that week. I ended up going into the locker room and chatting with him. The conversation was something like, I know you and I don't get on, but I just want to tell you, the doubles final here, I'm doing it. And he patted me on the back. He said, yeah, fine, nothing will happen. And not a word. So that was kind of the end of it, but I don't think he's ever forgiven me. I don't know.
This has been the longest men's doubles final ever by 1 minute.
I came up in an incredible time in tennis.
It's not every 18-year-old who makes the semi-final at Wimbledon.
To me, there was a lot of personality in the game. And in a one-on-one sport, it was extremely important. People see that.
You cannot be serious! That ball was on the line!
They don't have teams they root for. You know, they've got to respond to an individual, whether it's positive or negative. They didn't have to like everything. I didn't like everything I did.
This is where it's all right. You got hair on the top of your head.
But I felt like I wasn't being treated like the way I deserved to be treated.
Cheers for McEnroe.
Tennis and sport is entertainment, and McEnroe understood that better than any player that ever played the game.
McEnroe was one of the icons of the sport because of just the way that he played and how he brought so many fans to the sport.
John was unbelievable on any fast courts. He may be one of the greatest fast court players of all time.
There is absolutely no question in my mind that he was an utter genius and still is.
Mac's infamous moments have defined him and his brilliance.
You may love him, you may hate him, but you can't keep your eyes off him. And that's John McEnroe.
We're so lucky to have had him and still have him in the sport. He's an icon of tennis.
There were personalities out there, and everybody knew about McEnroe. He can be a super nice guy 1 minute and an asshole the next. And I kind of respect that to a certain extent, but it can get personal.
Default, Mr. McEnroe.
There's always regrets. Why wasn't I able to, love the game the way Roger Federer did? That would be a bigger regret than not having won the tournament, even though it would have been nice. But we'll all live happily ever after.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks. Thanks, John. Cheers.
It is a bit of a gap in your CV that you're not on board here.
I think you're going too far now. What the fuck is this guy doing? He's rubbing it in.